Welcome to the deep dive. We're the place where we really try to get under the skin of the big ideas shaping business, shaping success, shaping life, really. And today we're tackling a huge one. I mean, it's a debate that just keeps going. What really drives incredible success? Is it pure, relentless discipline, that methodical approach? Or is it? Well, is it just luck? Random chance playing its part? And look, this isn't just some academic thought experiment, right? How you answer this, or even how you think about it, fundamentally changes how you approach your own goals, your business, your career. It impacts everything.
Absolutely. Because if you think it's all discipline, then every failure feels personal. Like you didn't try hard enough. You weren't smart enough.
Right. And if it's all luck, then maybe you feel powerless, like you're just drifting, waiting for fate to decide. It's a tough line to walk.
It really is. It's that constant tension we all live with, I think.
So to really wrestle with this, we're bringing two intellectual heavyweights into the ring today, metaphorically speaking. On one side, I'm going to be championing the ideas of Jim Collins. Good to great, built to last. His whole argument is that great companies aren't built on luck or genius leaders alone. It's about disciplined people, disciplined thought, and disciplined action. That consistent, focused effort, that's the core, he argues.
Okay. And I'll be taking the other corner, drawing heavily from Nassim and Nicholas Taleb, especially the Black Swan. His view, it's pretty different.
Yeah, radically different almost.
He argues that history, and therefore success, isn't this neat progression.
Yeah.
It's often driven by these massive, unpredictable events. Black swans, he calls them. Rare, high-impact things nobody saw coming.
Right.
So from his perspective, a lot of what looks like brilliant success might just be, well, being on the right side of randomness, basically getting lucky.
So our mission today for this deep dive is to really explore that tension. Strategy versus serendipity. Discipline versus luck. What does it actually take to win?
Yeah, what's the real story?
We've gone through a ton of material for this, obviously Collins and Taleb, but lots of other sources too, trying to get a full picture. So let's dive in.
The doctrine of discipline, cultivating consistent greatness.
Okay, let's start with discipline. Because let's face it, this idea is deeply ingrained, isn't it? The whole architect of your own destiny thing, hard work, smart strategy, meticulous execution, that's the path.
It's definitely the more comforting narrative, I think. It gives you a sense of control. If I just work hard enough, plan well enough, I'll succeed.
Exactly. It feels empowering. 1.1, the power of deliberate strategy and execution. And when you look at building something that truly lasts, Built to Last offers some really powerful ideas. It's not about short-term wins. It's about companies that endure for decades.
Right, the ones that really stand the test of time.
And two big things jump out. First, homegrown management, promoting from within people who really get the core ideology, the company values. It's about embedding the culture deep.
Instead of just bringing in outsiders who might not fit. Makes sense.
And second, this relentless idea, good enough never is. This constant drive for self-improvement, never being satisfied, always pushing to be better. It points to this deep internal discipline, It's baked into the system.
That's a key point, the sustained part. It's not about hitting one target. It's about this ongoing commitment, this almost perpetual dissatisfaction, like you said. It's not a project, it's a way of being for the organization.
Yeah, exactly. They're designing themselves to constantly improve, even when things seem fine. It's like building an internal engine for progress.
Which, you could argue, is your best defense against that randomness we'll talk about later.
That connects really nicely with Hamilton Helmer's 7 Powers. He provides this kind of blueprint for building durable market strength. He talks about the mantra, finding a route to continuing power in significant markets.
Continuing power, not just a temporary advantage.
Exactly. Sustainability. He talks about layering different sources of power over time, building this really strong, defensible position. Not just winning once, but building something that keeps winning.
And Helmer gets really, really specific here. He lays out these 7 power types, things like scale economies, network effects, branding, and so on. And he makes this incredibly bold claim that these 7 are basically it, the only real strategies available. And he says, if you don't have at least one of these powers working against each competitor, you haven't satisfied the mantra. You essentially don't have a viable long-term strategy.
Wow. That's prescriptive.
It is. It really underscores the need for deliberate, structured, strategic thinking. You can't just stumble into lasting power, according to Helmer. You have to consciously build one of these specific types of advantage. It demands real strategic rigor.
Okay, so you've got the grand strategy, the power types. But then there's the massive question, how do you actually do it? I remember Clayton Christensen telling this story about Andy Grove at
Oh,
Intel.
yeah, the how versus what story.
Exactly. Grove basically said to Christensen, you told me what I should do. I already know that. I need to know how to do it. It just highlights this huge gap between having a great strategy on paper and making it happen in the real world.
It's such a crucial point because execution isn't just the boring follow-through. It is the discipline. That's where something like the 4 disciplines of execution comes in.
40X, right.
Yeah, it tackles that exact how problem. Because, like Grove said, figuring out the strategy is often, relatively speaking, straightforward. The real challenge, where companies constantly trip up, is in the day-to-day execution.
Making it stick.
Precisely. 4DX gives you a framework for focus, for accountability, for keeping score, making sure the important stuff actually gets done amidst the whirlwind of daily tasks. It treats execution as its own critical discipline.
And that discipline needs to filter down, doesn't it? Playing to win offers that strategic choice cascade. I love that framework.
It's very practical.
Yeah. What's our winning aspiration? Where will we play? How will we win there? What capabilities do we need? What management systems? It forces managers at every level to think systematically about how their piece fits into the bigger picture.
It connects the high-level vision to the ground-level decisions.
Right. And Michael Porter in Competitive Strategy adds another layer with mobility barriers. These aren't just temporary edges. They're structural things that give companies persistent advantages.
Like IBM back in the day, with their costs and service network.
Exactly. Those things weren't accidents. They were built deliberately through strategic choices. They create these protective moats, making it hard for competitors to just copy you and compete away your profits.
So the discipline lies in choosing the right strategy and building those defenses.
Yeah.
It's about creating durable success, not just being operationally good for a little while. 1.2, building discipline systems and culture.
Okay, so strategy and execution are key, but discipline has to go deeper, right, into the actual systems, the culture of a place.
Absolutely. It has to be woven into the fabric of the organization.
The EMIS Revisited talks about this critical separation between tactical work, the day-to-day stuff the technicians do, and strategic work, what the managers and leaders should be focused on, like growth and the future.
Right. If the leader's always stuck putting out fires or doing the tactical stuff,
the business can't grow. It gets stuck. The book argues that the organization chart is actually the tool to make that separation happen.
by defining roles and responsibilities clearly, it's a disciplined way to structure for growth, ensuring someone is actually steering the ship, not just rowing.
And this rigor extends to people decisions, too. Peter Drucker, in The Effective Executive, pointed out how some successful family businesses, like DuPont, had this strict rule.
Oh, the one about promoting family members.
Yeah. They'd only get promoted if he or she is measurably superior to all non-relatives on the same level. That's serious discipline. Meritocracy over nepotism, ensuring competence drives advancement.
That sets a powerful standard. And the 7 habits build on that accountability with win-win performance agreements.
Where people help set their own goals.
Exactly. People evaluate themselves using criteria they help create up front. It fosters this internal discipline, this ownership. You're not just being told what to do, you're committed because you were part of the process.
That feels much more powerful, doesn't it? Less top-down control, more shared commitment.
Definitely.
And you see this need for discipline at the personal level, too. I mean, Benjamin Franklin's autobiography is just astonishing in this regard.
His structured approach to self-improvement.
Yeah. He literally made a plan for his future conduct, listing virtues, tracking his progress. He talks about adhering to truth, sincerity, and integrity, being incredibly industrious, even redoing work after an accident to make it perfect. That personal discipline built his reputation, his character, and credit.
It's a powerful example of how individual rigor can compound over time. And that same kind of rigor is needed in teams. The discipline of teams talks about translating big challenges into specific outcome-based goals.
Getting concrete.
Right. And even categorizing issues based on whether they need quick decisions or more open-ended problem solving. It's about disciplined focus, making sure the team's energy is directed effectively, not just scattered.
Which brings us to leadership,
Yeah.
because someone has to drive all this. Daniel Goleman's work on emotional intelligence is key here.
Leadership
Yeah.
that gets results.
Yeah. He found the best leaders excel in things like self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy. But the crucial part for our discussion is that these aren't fixed traits.
They can be learned.
Exactly. They can be diligently practiced and developed over time. Leadership effectiveness itself is, in many ways, a learned discipline.
And specific communication disciplines are part of that. Think about radical candor, That idea of being direct but not mean, that takes practice, doesn't it? It's a skill.
Oh, absolutely. It's easy to swing too far one way or the other.
Or the new one-minute manager. The discipline of giving specific one-minute praisings consistently, reinforcing what people did right, and the redirects for quick, clear correction.
These aren't just random compliments or criticisms. They're structured, disciplined techniques to build trust and improve performance. They're learned habits.
Exactly. They are applied disciplines.
The domain of randomness, the unseen hand of fate.
Okay, so we've built a strong case for discipline. But now, we need to step into the other side, the messier side, the world of randomness, luck, and the unpredictable.
The world of Nassim Nicholas Taleb.
Precisely. And his core idea is unsettling for people who like neat, predictable models of success. He argues that our world is fundamentally shaped by black swans. 2.1, the impact of black swans and unpredictable events. These black swans, remember, are events that are incredibly rare, have a massive impact, and critically are only predictable in hindsight. Before they happen, they're often completely off the radar.
We convince ourselves afterward that we should have seen them coming.
Exactly. Hindsight bias is powerful. Taleb says we tunnel, we focus on known risks, on predictable variations, and we miss the possibility of these massive, game-changing, truly random events. We make lists of specific potential disasters, but we miss the ones we can't even imagine.
Can you give an example?
Well, the classic Taleb example is the Amaranth Advisors hedge fund. This wasn't some amateur outfit. They had, like, 12 risk managers, complex models.
Sophisticated stuff.
Right. And they lost around $7 billion in just a few days on natural gas futures.
No.
Why? Because an unpredictable, extreme market move happened that their models, based on past data, simply couldn't foresee. Taleb uses it to show that you cannot manufacture more information than the past can deliver. History doesn't always prepare you for the truly novel.
That's sobering, especially if you think your risk models have you covered.
It really is. It shows how vulnerable even disciplined systems can be to true randomness.
But randomness isn't always destructive, right? Sometimes luck creates opportunity. You mentioned Intel earlier.
Yes, the microprocessor story from Seven Powers. It's a perfect example of serendipity. Intel wasn't trying to invent the microprocessor.
They were in the memory business.
Correct. He took on a side project designing chips for a Japanese calculator company, Busicom, basically just to generate much-needed cash for their memories business. It was a tactical move, born of necessity.
And that side project
became the microprocessor, the core of their future empire. The outcome was wildly disproportionate to the initial discipline goal, the final score. $0 for memories and 150 Bs for microprocessors.
So discipline got them the project, but luck delivered the jackpot.
You could definitely argue that. The discovery was serendipitous. The value created was totally unforeseen by the initial strategy. It was a massive, positive, random event they later capitalized on.
Then there are times when things just go spectacularly wrong despite all the planning. The Edsel car comes to mind.
Oh, the Edsel, a classic case study from business adventures. Ford poured money into research, design, marketing.
They did everything right by the book.
But Brooks points out this scarcely believable circumstance. Many of the very first cars off the line were just lemons, oil leaks, sticking hoods, trunks that wouldn't open.
Just bad luck. A terrible production run.
It seemed like it. A cascade of random quality issues that poisoned the launch. It wasn't necessarily a fundamental strategic flaw initially. It was this string of unfortunate events that created terrible buzz and doomed the car. A jinx, almost.
And sometimes that bad luck isn't just one company, it's the whole economy.
Exactly. Think about huge macroeconomic events, like the UK leaving the gold standard in 1931. That's seen as a major trigger for the Great Depression.
A massive, unpredictable shockwave.
Right. An event like that can swamp everyone, no matter how well run their individual business is. Your brilliant strategy doesn't mean much when the entire global economy collapses underneath you. That's randomness on a grand scale.
And technology shifts can create similar disruptions. You mentioned Microsoft's Tiger Server project and Hit Refresh.
Yeah, a huge internal bet on video-on-demand technology, years of work, tons of resources.
And then
obsolete virtually overnight with the birth of the internet. The whole paradigm shifted unexpectedly, pulling the rug out from under them. All that disciplined effort vaporized by an unforeseen technological wave.
Wow. Or Polaroid, which is even more ironic.
Totally ironic. As Originals points out, Polaroid, led by the brilliant Edwin Land, actually pioneered the digital camera. They had a working prototype way back in 1992.
So they had the innovation, the discipline to create it.
But they hesitated. They didn't launch until 1996. By then, the market had exploded. More than 40 competitors had released their own digital cameras. They invented the future but went bankrupt because of it.
That's brutal. A failure to adapt quickly enough to the random explosion of the market.
Seems like it. The timing, the competitive rush, these unpredictable market dynamics overwhelmed their internal innovation. It's a stark reminder that even having the right idea isn't enough if the random winds of the market blow against you or you don't adjust your sails fast enough. 2.2. The illusions of control and the fragility of forecasts.
This really highlights how hard it is to predict the future, doesn't it? Even for visionaries. The Everything Store mentions that early on at Amazon, when Bezos and his team tried forecasting revenues 5 years out.
Nobody got it right.
Apparently, no one came close. Even the guy building the future couldn't accurately predict its scale or trajectory. It just shows the inherent fuzziness of long-term forecasting.
And in investing, Joel Greenblatt nails it when he says, basically, you'll always be down at some point after you invest, unless you magically buy at the absolute bottom tick, which is impossible.
Right. There's always that element of market timing, of fluctuation you can't control.
Exactly. Even the most disciplined investment strategy hits random turbulence. Howard Marks drives this home too. Risk is incredibly important. It's also ephemeral and unmeasurable. You can model it, you can try to quantify it, but true risk, the possibility of the unforeseen, is fundamentally slippery.
Which means sometimes you just have to take a gamble knowing it might not work out. Amazon invested heavily in Cosmo.com.
The delivery service, yeah, that went bust.
Yeah.
$60 million down the drain.
Or Bezos' early idea for bike messengers on every corner his own team thought he was nuts. These are big bets, acknowledging high risk, where success depends partly on factors beyond direct control, on a lucky confluence of events.
It's disciplined experimentation, maybe, but with a large dose of hoping the randomness breaks your way.
And these individual bets happen within larger cycles, right? Finance and technical change talks about radical innovations clustering historically, like every half century or so.
Yeah, suggesting there might be these larger, somewhat unpredictable waves of change. Your disciplined innovation might be more likely to succeed if it happens to catch one of those waves. It's not entirely random, but the timing has a serendipitous element.
And finally, there's the sheer transience of companies themselves. Scott Galloway in The Four makes this sobering point about Silicon Valley firms.
That it's rare for a company to stay at the very top across decades.
Exactly. He says it's a rare firm that makes the list twice. And even more starkly, our kids will outlive almost all the firms you know today.
Wow. That really puts it in perspective.
It does. Even the giants seem temporary.
It suggests that even the most disciplined, successful companies are vulnerable to external shocks, market shifts, new technologies, all these unpredictable forces. Sustained greatness over the very long term might be the exception, profoundly influenced by factors beyond internal control. Corporate life itself seems subject to a lot of randomness.
The dynamic interplay orchestrating strategy and serendipity.
Okay, so we've got discipline on one side, the architect building brick by brick, and we've got randomness on the other, the unpredictable storm or the lucky windfall. How do we make sense of this? It feels like you need both, somehow.
Exactly. It's not choosing one or the other. The real art, the real challenge seems to lie in the interplay between them. How do you act deliberately while staying open to chance? How do you prepare for the unpredictable?
Orchestrating strategy and serendipity. I like that. 3.1, preparing for the unpredictable. Robustness and adaptability. There's that great quote from Sir Francis Bacon mentioned in The Intelligent Investor. It's hundreds of years old, but feels spot on.
The one about gains certain versus adventures.
Yeah. He that resteth upon gains certain shall hardly grow to great riches, and he that puts all upon adventures doth oftentimes break. It is good, therefore, to guard adventures with certainties that may uphold losses.
It's brilliant. It's about that dual approach. You need a solid, disciplined foundation, the certainties, to protect you from ruin, but you also need to take calculated risks, the adventures, where luck can give you that upside potential.
So discipline provides the safety net that allows you to pursue opportunities where randomness plays a part.
Precisely. It's about building robustness, a system that can handle shocks, maybe even benefit from them, while still allowing you to explore the uncertain edges.
And that idea of continuous improvement we talked about earlier, from built to last, good enough never is, that feels relevant here too.
How so?
Well, if you're constantly improving, constantly adapting, aren't you inherently building resilience? You're making the organization more flexible, better able to handle unexpected shifts because change is already part of its DNA.
That makes sense. It's like keeping the muscles flexible through regular exercise so you're less likely to get injured by a sudden jolt. And the lean startup methodology is all about that, isn't it?
The experiments, the pivots.
Yeah. Conduct experiments, learn what works in your specific changing circumstances. It's a disciplined process for adapting to uncertainty. You're not predicting the future, but you're building a system that can react quickly and intelligently to whatever the market throws at you. You turn random feedback into learning opportunities.
Preparation can also be about understanding the dup recurrence. Eugene Schwartz in Breakthrough Advertising advises choosing a mass desire that's already powerful.
Tapping into something that exists rather than trying to create desire from scratch.
Right. Acknowledge it, reinforce it, offer a way to satisfy it. It's a disciplined way to align yourself with potentially powerful, even unpredictable market forces. You're positioning yourself to catch a wave.
And that connects to marketing myopia. The warning there is about companies defining themselves too narrowly by their product instead of the customer need they serve.
Like the railroads thinking they were in the railroad business, not the transportation business.
Exactly. If you define yourself too narrowly, you miss the extraordinary new developments, the disruptive shifts that feel like bad luck, but were actually foreseeable if you had a broader perspective. A disciplined focus on the customer's underlying need makes you more adaptable, more ready for those unexpected shifts, those black swans in your industry. 3.2, the art of seizing and leveraging unforeseen opportunities.
Okay, so you prepare, you build robustness. But then luck does knock. How do you make sure you answer the door? The richest man in Babylon has that story.
About the merchant seeing how close good luck can come and how easily someone can let it slip by.
Yeah. It implies luck isn't just passive. You have to be ready, you have to recognize it, and crucially, you have to act on it.
That's the key, isn't it? Readiness. Think about Hadan Gula in that same book. His industry, his hard work, was his best friend. It didn't guarantee luck, but it put him in a position to seize the opportunities that arose. His friend tells him, act like a free man and succeed like one.
So discipline creates the capacity to leverage luck when it appears.
I think so. Hard work prepares you to get lucky, or at least to make the most of luck when it arrives.
And sometimes seizing opportunity requires a really disciplined pivot, even if it goes against the grain.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs initially resisted making the iPod work with Windows, right?
He did. He wanted to keep it tied to the Mac, but his team argued forcefully, we should be in the music player business, not just in the Mac business.
And that pivot was huge.
Massive. It was a disciplined, strategic decision to adapt to the larger market reality, even overriding the founder's initial vision. They turned a potential limitation into explosive growth. That's seizing an opportunity by being strategically flexible.
And back to Intel again, the microprocessor was the lucky break, the serendipitous discovery.
Their decision later to go all in on microprocessors, to invest heavily, to build that $150 billion business that was a disciplined, strategic embrace of the unexpected opportunity, they recognized the potential of the lucky break and deliberately built an empire on it.
It wasn't just stumbling into success. It was recognizing the opening and running through it with focused effort.
Precisely.
You even see this idea of shaping fortune in Machiavelli. The prince decides not to rely on the luck of others anymore.
He uses his wiles, his strategy, to try and control fortune, or at least mitigate its negative effects. It's a colder, more calculated discipline, trying to bend randomness to your will.
A less ruthless example might be Sam Walton. He didn't start out planning to be the world's biggest retailer.
No, he started small, with just a few stores. His initial philosophy was very disciplined, but incremental. Take it as it comes, grow with our own money, maybe add a store or two.
Building a solid base.
Right. That disciplined organic growth created the platform, the financial strength, and the operational expertise that allowed Walmart to later capitalize massively on market expansion and opportunities. He built the engine slowly and carefully, then hit the accelerator when the conditions were right. 3.3, the human element. Mindset and influence.
Underneath all this strategy and randomness, there's the human element. Our mindset, how we think, seems crucial.
Absolutely. The 7 Habits talks about self-awareness, empowering us to examine our thoughts, to choose our responses, and developing an abundance mentality.
Believing there's enough success to go around.
Right. That internal discipline, managing your own thoughts and beliefs, fundamentally changes how you interact with the world, how you perceive setbacks, how you spot opportunities. It shapes your personal engagement with both discipline and luck.
Goldman has that great example of the manager admitting he was disappointed not to get a project lead.
Yes, saying, bear with me while I deal with that. That shows incredible self-awareness and self-regulation.
instead of just being resentful or passive-aggressive.
Exactly. That discipline in managing his own emotions allows him and the team to navigate a potentially difficult situation much more effectively. It makes him more resilient to the bad luck of not getting the role he wanted.
And social dynamics are fascinating too. Influence points out that even insincere flattery often works.
Because people tend to believe praise, even if it feels a bit off.
Apparently so. It suggests that a disciplined understanding of psychology can actually help you. Well, maybe manufacture a bit of social luck, shape interactions in your favor. It's a bit manipulative, perhaps, but it highlights how perceived fortune can be influenced.
But the flip side is denying reality. Den of Thieves describes Drexel's CEO insisting Ivan Bojeski was a liar, even when the evidence against his firm was overwhelming.
A total lack of candid self-assessment?
Right. No amount of discipline in other areas could save them when they refused to confront the hard truth. That internal blind spot, that refusal to acknowledge reality, ultimately led to disaster. It wasn't bad luck, it was willful ignorance meeting consequences.
Shifting gears slightly, Satya Nadella at Microsoft argues for a broader view of success.
In Hit Refresh, yeah. That success isn't just about profit for shareholders, but the broader surplus created for society.
It feels like a more disciplined, long-term, outward-looking strategy, and maybe one that attracts unforeseen goodwill or opportunities, creates its own kind of positive randomness.
It could. It resonates with Max Weber's concept of calling from the Protestant ethic. This idea of work as a task set by God, a deep intrinsic motivation.
A purpose beyond just making money.
Exactly. That kind of disciplined labor in a calling, Weber argued, provides immense energy for expansion. It's an internal drive that might make you more resilient, more creative, less dependent on external validation or pure luck. It fuels the discipline needed for the long haul.
Your personal blueprint for success beyond the either-or.
Okay, so wrapping this all together, it really feels like the answer isn't discipline or luck. It's gotta be discipline and luck. The real skill is integrating them, building your own approach that's both deliberate and open to chance.
Creating your personal blueprint, yeah. One that acknowledges both realities. 4.1, integrating deliberate action with openness to chance.
And the 7 Habits gives us a really practical tool for this, the time management matrix focusing on quadrant 2.
Important, but not urgent.
Right. Things like planning, prevention, relationship building, learning, the stuff that doesn't scream for attention now, but builds your capacity for the future.
By focusing time there, proactively, you reduce the number of crises, the quadrant I stuff, that always feels like bad luck hitting you.
Exactly. You're deliberately creating breathing room, building resilience, so you're less reactive and better prepared for genuine, unexpected events. It's disciplined action to manage the feeling of being overwhelmed by randomness.
That makes perfect sense. You're controlling what you can control, which gives you more bandwidth to deal with what you can't.
Another strategy is building those deep learning relationships with customers. From do you want to keep your customers forever?
Staying so close to them that you can adapt and keep their business almost indefinitely.
Right. It's disciplined relationship building, continuous adaptation based on their needs, provides stability.
But, and here's the randomness caveat again. The book admits learning relationships wouldn't have saved the buggy whip maker from the car.
So even deep customer focus isn't enough if a massive disruptive wave hits your whole industry.
Precisely. You need that disciplined customer connection, and you need the disciplined strategic awareness to see, or at least be ready for, those bigger industry-level black swans. You need both internal focus and external vigilance. 4.2, cultivating a culture of resilience and foresight, which brings us back full circle to Taleb. Since you can't reliably predict black swans, the focus has to shift. Don't try to predict, try to build robustness.
Design systems that can take a hit, or even benefit from one.
Exactly. Build systems that are resilient to negative shocks and positioned to potentially gain from positive ones. Think redundancy, flexibility, avoiding excessive debt or concentration. It's about creating anti-fragility, not just preventing failure.
So the question for everyone listening is, how do you build that robustness in your own life, your own work? How do you cultivate that flexibility, that learning mindset, so you don't just survive uncertainty, you actually thrive in it?
It's a fundamental shift in perspective, away from prediction towards preparation and adaptability.
And Taleb also pushes us to constantly question assumptions, right? Not accepting other people's wisdom as gospel.
Yes. Challenge the standard models. Question the experts. Think critically about measures like standard deviation that might hide the real extreme risks. It requires intellectual discipline to resist easy answers and comfortable narratives.
So this whole deep dive really suggests that true success demands this nuanced view, not blindly following the discipline camp or the luck camp. It requires the discipline to question everything, including your own reliance on discipline or your assumptions about luck.
Well put. It's about holding both ideas in tension and finding the synthesis that works in the real messy world.
The enduring riddle of achievement.
So we've explored both sides. The compelling case for discipline, methodical, focused, building greatness step by step, like Jim Collins describes. And the equally compelling, if sometimes unsettling, view from Nassim Taleb, a world punctuated by randomness, where unpredictable black swans can change everything in an instant. Both forces are clearly at play.
It really does feel like it's rarely just one or the other, doesn't it? True greatness often seems to happen right at that intersection, where meticulous preparation meets a readiness to adapt to the unexpected.
Yeah, it's like you need to be both the architect with the detailed blueprint and the skilled improviser ready to go off script when reality throws you a curveball.
You need to write your script, but also be ready to ad-lib masterfully.
So as you, our listener, continue your own deep dive into whatever you're pursuing, here's a final thought to chew on. What's one area in your life or work where you might be leaning too heavily on discipline, maybe being a bit too rigid? Where could embracing a little more randomness experimenting, being more open to pivots, potentially unlock something new?
Or, flipping that around, where might you be waiting too much for a lucky break, when applying some focused, consistent discipline could actually create the momentum you need?
That's something to think about. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
Until next time.